I think it is important that we dive down and look at these issues and then examine how it has affected us as victims of Nigeria. I'm sure you would prefer that I called you citizens of Nigeria, but I would believe that the Nigerian is essentially not a citizen. You are just victims of the Nigerian state. In recent days, as I have read news reports of how 58 ex-governors, between them, embezzled 2.1 trillion naira, and I look to the Nigerian space, and I know that there are very few, if any, states in Nigeria where you have functional public water works, or where you have functional public school systems, or even healthcare delivery system, or road infrastructure, or even security, which should be the first duty of any state. I then ask myself, is it possible that these 58 governors would have done what they've done if they had visions behind their exertions? When purpose is unknown, abuse becomes inevitable, yes. But how about a situation where resources are entrusted to men who do not have any plan for the people they govern? So it means that stealing the money, whether it is required or not, becomes second nature because they have nothing else to do with the money. They simply have no plan to do anything, so they begin to steal in the place of executing the vision. There is nothing to run with. Nothing. They have nothing to run with. So in the absence of anything to run with, they begin to perverse themselves by stealing. The absence of vision breeds abuse of available resources. It is an inevitable conclusion in the absence of vision. A leader with vision wouldn't have enough resources available for him in the face of the scarcity that we are facing as a people. The little that he has would be properly husbanded and will go towards the provision of critical infrastructure and the vision and making sure that the vision he has for those he governs are brought to fruition. But when there is no vision, there will be no governing priority. It will simply mean that the monies that are available would be stolen. In the absence of visionary purpose, abuse becomes inevitable. Whilst the rulers are lacking in vision, they are not lacking in avarice. So, they build 20 houses. They buy 20 cars. You find a vice presidential lodge becoming a necessity in a country where people cannot even have basic healthcare infrastructure. They steal what they have neither use or need for. What is the point of stealing money that you cannot spend in 100 lifetimes? So it's not like they sat down and consciously decided that we will steal. It is that in the absence of vision, the only thing left to them is the perversion of unbridled stealing. Let's take Yaya Bello, for example. A man pays school fees even for the unborn, and is the governor of a state where salaries are unpaid. Salaries, that would be the most basic of the duties of an employer. I was an employer of labor, and I still do have some employees today. I make bold to say in the public space that I never hold any of my employees. Why must I? Why should anybody hold an employee? But the state, the governor of a state, for 7.5 years, did not pay salaries to those who worked in the state. But he was paying school fees. He paid school fees in advance in dollars. But it is Yaya Bello that we see that we are talking about. What about those that we know nothing about? What about those that we know nothing about? It's happening on a daily basis everywhere you look. Why would the governor of a state believe that it is his due to sit down and be drinking whiskey whose cost runs into millions of naira? It is the absence of vision. Once upon a time in this country, we had a governor like Lateef Jakonde who rode around in a Toyota Crown, lived in his private house at Ilupeju. The one that superintended the affairs of Lagos State from 1999 to 2007 and became the Godfather of Lagos. It wasn't enough that he had a place on Bodilon. They had to more or less close off an entire street years later for his own provision. These were state properties. It mattered nothing. The Aaries did not make it even make sense to them that they shouldn't be seen doing this. Lagos State Polytechnic, Ikosi, what became of it? It became this private empire. Etiosa local government on Glover Road. Today there is a skyscraper standing there. The avarice is unbridled. It's almost as if there is a madness governing the thoughts and thinking of these people. They have multiple houses in Dubai, on the Potomac in Washington, everywhere but anywhere. They build houses, they buy cars. Some of them have houses they don't even know anything about. The story was told to me once, and this is a factual one, of one of Nigeria's rich men who was telling his estate agent that he wanted a particular property. He liked it, until the estate agent had to remind him that the house actually belonged to him already. He owns the house, but he didn't know that it was his own house. That is the extent of avarice and how it has maddened them and turned them into insane people, amassing things that are not required or would ever be needed. And that is the story of the Nigerian Ruiners. They gather everything. What they need, what they don't need, they gather it all. If you visit some of their homes, you will barely have enough space to walk in because everywhere is chock-a-block with cars that they don't need. They just amass everything. They are hoarders. It is the reign of avarice. It's a form of madness for the Nigerian Ruiners. But all these have effects. You find them, they run off to the Barbados to have parties. Their birthdays. So it's not enough to have destination weddings. They are having destination birthday parties now. They go off to ever more exotic islands so that the people they afflict might not even see the crumbs from the table of the parties that they set for themselves. This is the reality of the Nigerian. But these things have effect because it's always about cause and effect. They've divided the country along ethno-religious lines because in the absence of a vision that would have constrained them to unify the people so that they might use the concerted energy of the people to achieve vision, they divide the people. You have white elephant projects littering the entire landscape of the country. There is Ajaokuta there, God knows how many trillions. There is no country that grows without a manufacturing base. How do you have a manufacturing base without a steel industry or aluminium? You have the whole thing. We've been at Ajaokuta since Shagari's time. That's like 40 years now we've been on Ajaokuta, and we still don't have anything happening there. We still import our steel needs in spite of the abundance of the material in our own country. The latest of their white elephant, 4 billion per kilometer. They are planning to build a coastal road to nowhere. These are the effects of the marriage of avarice and myopia. Ever more outrageous projects just because they need to justify the monies they steal blindly. Everywhere you look, you find shortage, acute shortage of public infrastructure, simply because it is impossible to build when you are more engaged with stealing. Public debts that are not matched to anything. Look at Lagos State, for instance. Only God knows how much Lagos State is owing for water. There are various World Bank loans meant for the provision of water infrastructure. The entire Lekki Peninsula does not have 1 square inch of pipe water, public means. Everybody sinking boreholes indiscriminately everywhere you turn, simply because the government has failed to provide potable water. Today in Nigeria, we're looking and steering we're looking at state collapse. We already have state capture, criminal capture of the state. That is the reality of our lives today. But more importantly, the failure of the state is becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy because of the complete and total absence of any visionary purpose. You have youthful energy that is not channeled to the accomplishment or attainment of any vision. Yorubas will tell you that you cannot be both stingy and avaricious at the same time. But that is the reality of the Nigerian. Those who rule us have assured that in our country today, in the complete and total absence of vision, what we have governing our country is the madness and insanity of crass pursuit of materiality. The governance system itself is powered essentially by greed and avarice. That is the tragedy of our country.